and we had been talking about marketing management. And last time we talked a little bit about environmental scanning, which is the systematic review of what's going on in the world around you. And the reason that we do that so far is to avoid marketing myopia, which is the idea that you focus too narrowly on what you're doing, you miss opportunities and threats in the larger environment. Today we're going to take that to the next level and talk about the strategic planning process. Start out talking about what it is, and then we'll finish up talking a little bit about forecasting. So strategic planning, it just sounds like something really cool. This was, gosh, about 20 years ago, strategic planning was all the rage and everybody was doing strategic plans. I think people are still doing it, and I think there's value in the strategic planning process. But it has good sides and bad sides. From a multiple choice test perspective, we might look at strategic planning as the process of figuring out what an organization is, who it serves, what it does, and an emphasis on the future. The strategic planning processes that I have been in that seemed to have been effective involving as many stakeholders as possible in the process. We talked earlier about stakeholders are anybody who would be affected or either benefited or harmed by what you're trying to accomplish. And you need to have this, the goal is to get a deep understanding of what you're doing, and then the outcome is the strategic plan. When it's done well, and the processes that I've been involved in, sometimes just the process of planning is more important than the output. It's all too common that you'll finish a strategic plan and you get this big binder, it's called strategic plan, and you put it up on the shelf next to the binder that said strategic plan 5 years ago, which is next to the binder that said strategic plan 6 years ago, and then you go about doing your business. And the reason is, especially at this pace of business today, it's really hard to predict what's going to happen. I think General Patton was famously quoted as saying that a battle plan lasts until the first shot is fired, and then you got to figure out what's really happening. Similarly with a strategic plan, it's great to think 5 years down the road, 3 years down the road what's going to happen, but you need to be flexible because reality sometimes is inconsistent with what you had prepared for it to be. From a marketing perspective, I like this definition much better. It's looking at long-term opportunities and developing the organization's capabilities to take advantage of them. Typically, when we talk about strategic, we're looking at longer-term horizon, 3 to 5 years. Again, the pace of business is increasing to the point where a 5-year plan is almost unrealistic unless you're in an industry that does have long planning horizons. But 2 to 3 years is becoming more the norm. And again, we talked about marketers as being boundary spanners. In order to do the job of matching opportunities with what your capabilities are, you need to understand both your capabilities and the opportunities. So from this perspective, we've got kind of a 4-stage process for developing a strategic plan. Start with the environmental scan, then you develop strategies, then you execute the strategies, and then you figure out whether or not they worked and do it again. Now I'm going to give away a dirty little secret here, okay? This is strategic planning in a nutshell, and every planning process uses this basic approach, but we, mix it up with lots of steps so that we can charge more money for it. But basically, any strategic planning process, any planning process is figure out where you are, figure out where you want to be, and then figure out what you have to do to get from here to there. So think about this for a career, right? Where are you right now? Junior year in college, in a class that's probably going to be the highlight of your academic career. At least that's what everybody who talks to me about it says. The ones that talk to the dean might have a different story. And what do you want to be 5 years from now? And actually, this is when people come and talk to me about careers, and that's sometimes the hardest question, is what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be running your own company? Do you want to be working for a large corporation? Are you working in a family business and you want to take it over? So right now you're in college. In 5 years, you want to be a division manager for a large corporation. Okay, so what do we need to do starting now that's going to take us to, you see what I'm saying? So again, for any kind of planning process, this is essentially it, but we always add extra steps to just make ourselves look smart.